Fantastic. Okay, well, we shall just start away. So I have with me Rachel Brown. Rachel, thank you for coming on to the final webinar of Talking Heads. What a fitting final guest.
You're more than welcome. I'm delighted to be here. And actually, Kieran, I have to say, this has been a brilliant 2 weeks. Of all the ups and downs I've had in the last 2 weeks, trying to get myself tuned in at 3:30 of a day has been brilliant. It's been like my North Star. So it's my honour to be the final talking head of this extravaganza.
Thank you very much. Thank you. That's very kind of you. I think it's been just really nice having asked people if they'd come onto this, and everyone said, yeah, of course, no worries at all. And it's just testament to the fact that people can be kind and are up for doing this sort of thing. So thank you. That's very kind. Yeah, so just to start us off, could you, Rachel, please tell me about yourself and about the Creative Entrepreneurs Club and the Future Economy Company, how it came about and what you do?
Yeah, sure. So many of you might know that I joined Cultural Enterprise Office nearly 3 years ago now, and it's one of those classic things where it feels like the longest 3 years of my life and the shortest 3 years of my life at the same time. We went through a huge period of transition over the last 2 years, and the upshot of that was the creation of the Future Economy Company. And the vision for the Future Economy Company really is to put creativity and social impact at the heart of our future economy. It seems, however, desperate and strange the situation we're in now. It feels like I've been working up to this for ages. This is a kind of perfect storm for us. The Creative Entrepreneurs Club is our front-facing part of that, and it's the business support service that we have attached to the Future Economy Company. And we did something quite interesting with the Creative Entrepreneurs Club round about the beginning of March. It was pretty clear to me that things were going a different way. We knew January, February time there was a situation coming. How serious we were taking it, I don't know. I live and work in the East End of Glasgow. We were all a bit like, yeah, COVID, whatevs, down in the barras. But it became quite serious quite quickly, and I had a lot of conversations with creative organisations that were really finding the environment pretty tough. We joined forces with and had many conversations with some creative industry organisations and business leaders. Andrew Dobie in particular, they've made brave. And we decided to turn around the Creative Entrepreneurs Club in about 4 days. It was absolutely mad. We had to rebuild our whole system, rebuild all the resources, change the way that we were working. We were engaging with about 300 people at that point. And we kind of repositioned it really to open up a free service for people who are in the creative and social space that want good quality, engaged business support. So we're not the type of organisation that sends you links to look at links. We don't do webinars about here's a link, open the link. That's not our style at all. We like to interpret content and make it useful for people. So the last 5 weeks have been nuts. We've gone from 300 people to, at the moment, I just checked before I came on, 964 people.
Wow.
In the club. The whole point of it, the whole purpose of it is to network, to upskill and to empower. And I think that if we're going to get through this, well, we will get through this. When we get through this, it's going to be the creatives and the social impact makers that are going to get the end result moving forward faster. So I really believe in the power of entrepreneurship, creativity and innovation. And I think when you put in creative entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs into that mix, you just get something pretty awesome.
And well, as we said, it is an unprecedented time. People have used that word quite a bit. We both worked through the period before the banking crash where there was loads of money about. So if you wanted to get money from Big Lottery, as it was then, or any trust and foundation, it was plentiful. And someone had said to me at that time there was more pilots in Easterhouse than there are in Glasgow Airport at that time. So there was lots of money going about, lots of access to money. The financial crash hit and it changed everything. And it kind of seemed like we were slowly building up to the time we're in just now. do you think that the period we're in just now, do you think we've been there before and it's just another storm that we've weathered in the past? Or are we in a completely new place where we've not been before?
I think, and a lot, do you know, it's a brilliant question, Kieran, because I think about this a lot. I'm slightly, as you know, I'm slightly obsessed with the trends in the future and understanding behaviour, what's coming next. I think the uncertainty perhaps is familiar to us. In the same time, the uncertainty is completely new. So we know the map, we understand the map that we're on, and we get it, and we know where everything is, but we don't understand the terrain that we're on. So we don't know what footwear to wear, for example. So we don't know how we're going to get there. And I think that, I mean, some of us who have been through the banking crisis, and actually the last 2 years, I've been through quite a lot personally and professionally. Professionally, you know, the organisation that I'm involved in, we weren't successful in money. We had to reapply for different funds. People kept telling me no all the time, more and more and more. And you know, when you're trying to create something like the Future Economy Company and a Creative Entrepreneurs Club, people just honestly think you're nuts, you know. And I'm quite used to that in a lot of ways, but people couldn't see it. They just couldn't see it fast enough. They were like, we don't need this, we don't want this. So I'm kind of used to those setbacks. And then in amongst all of that, my dad passed away, and I had never felt grief like it. And the position that I'm in now, I think the feelings are the same, the emotions are the same. And I was pretty comfortable earlier on grasping those emotions. And it was the same in the banking crisis. There's a lot of emotions, and you have to grasp them, understand what you can do with them, and then move them forward. I think one of the things I find really enjoyable and really difficult at the same time, and I'm living my best life and having a double emotion daily, hourly, perhaps even minutely, going from being really angry to being really optimistic, to being really happy, to being quite depressed, and everything else in between. It's kind of this yo-yo of extremes. I'm pretty happy that we're having to blur the lines a bit. So this is my house. I'm sitting in my house. I'm actually in the playroom at the moment. I've commandeered this as my office. And at any minute my kids could burst through the door because we're doing homeschooling. But that kind of mix of life now is brilliant. And I think the bit that I get very excited about is the opportunities around business that that's going to give us. You know, before the crisis, not many people really worked from home in a flexible way. If we can, we now have to. We have a different value and understanding of people that are in the front line. So every time I have to go to the supermarket, I'm hugely thankful for the people that are out there working, and I make sure I tell them that. We've got a different appreciation of the world around us, and we're starting to see things through different lenses. And so when you're starting to see things through different lenses, if you've built up resilience, if you're being encouraged and allowed to be creative, then who knows what we're going to see next? Who knows what the behaviours are going to be? I mean, if we sort of spin back 6 months, you know, people were cheering. I say people, we know who these people are, but people were cheering, you know, in our parliament, not Scottish Parliament, our UK Parliament, for not giving the NHS a pay rise. Could you imagine that happening now? Absolutely not. You know, I'm sure, like myself and my family, every Thursday night, it's like, it's a gathering. We're out, we're in the street, we've got a bell, we've actually got a band. Of course we have.
Of course.
We've got guitars and drums and all kinds of shit going on. We're like,
yeah.
We were waving to our neighbours, we're engaged, we're having a community celebration and appreciation. This is behaviour we've not seen before. We've all talked about this behaviour, but we've not actually seen it. And I think we're going to see a huge influx. As we get through this, things are going to get tougher, but as we get through this, we're going to see a huge influx of people creating socially motivated, creative businesses. And that's what makes it different. So 10 years ago, when we were in the crash before, Uber came, Airbnb came. Now, if you tracked the behaviours, you would have seen those things coming. Where are we now? We're a decade on, more so, and we've had much more of a social revolution about business. So imagine what the younger generations are going to create around social business. Imagine what the people who are in the 45, 55, 65 plus bracket who've got life and work under their belt, imagine what they're going to create. We've got that tipping point that when I'm being optimistic, I'm loving it. But equally, I'm very pragmatic about the challenges that we're in. We're going to see unemployment like we've never seen before, and we're going to have to really dig deep around all of that.
We've also seen in the past couple of weeks funders operate in a completely different way, and it's been really heartening to see many grant funders and social investors, for example, getting in touch with investees and saying things like, we understand that what you're delivering is impactful and we trust you. Therefore, if you've got a restricted grant with us, we'll unrestrict it. And also for social investors to go to investees and say, we understand this is a difficult time for you. We want you to weather the storm, so we'll do what we can. I'm relatively new to the social investment sector. I've kind of come from this, a place where I've been involved in running organisations, running programmes. So it's all quite new still to me. As a social investor, what advice would you give me or to the sector of how the sort of behaviours I should be displaying and the sort of support perhaps that I can offer to the sector in this point of times as we think about the new normal for how we fund and support the creative and cultural sector and beyond?
Ooh, it's a good question. So what should you do, Kieran, quite frankly? I think there's a really exciting time to rewrite the rule book. You can't give out new money with old systems. You just can't. We're in a different time. And I think one of the things, I mean, you guys at Social Investment Scotland are different insofar as the criteria model you have is based on the actual success, support and vision of the business. So one of the things I hope we get to the point of that criteria isn't about the box the funder thinks you should fit in. Criteria is about the marketplace that you're involved in. So if somebody comes along and says, I know my community really well, X, Y, or Z are the things that need to change, this is how we want to impact on them, this is what needs to happen, are you able to support me? Then funders and investors should have the screening to go, yeah, that makes absolute sense. Controversially, I think there needs to be a bit of a leveler. I would expect, if I was going to an investor or a grant funder, for them to be deeply knowledgeable about the environment that I and others operate in. I think it's really important that we lose the skim, we lose the generalist skim, because often what happens is people's experiences are based on what's gone behind them, and you've criteria and funds are all often developed on past experiences, but we're in a space now where we're in new experiences. The past can tool you up, the past can give you foundation and give you all those excellent grounding, and you go, oh, I remember an example here, I remember an example there. Actually, you put all that together to say, what could the new stuff look like? So we operate as a social enterprise. I do business support for the creative industries. We work with art forms of any kind, so all 16 subsets of the creative sector. We work with business model of any kind. You can be a wholly commercial business and a social business and everybody else in between. And we're often described as doing too many things for too many people, but actually the traits of the entrepreneurs that we work with are the same, the behaviours are the same, the needs are the same, the criteria are the same. They don't need me to make judgment on that. They need me to listen and observe and be able to create the right questions that go around it. So for me, sometimes you only get the answer to the question that you ask. Are you asking the right question is always the key point. So if I'm sitting in front of a funder and I ask a question, I will get the answer to the question I've asked. Am I asking the right question? And I think it's the funder's job to ask that back to me, to challenge the why and help with the how. That would be the key thing for me. So investors need to get to the point where they're actually deeply knowledgeable and understanding the situation that you're trying to change or the problem you're trying to solve, and then support you with that how. Because the vision that people have in terms of business and what they want to achieve in projects, and the difference between an idea, a project and a business in the main funders need to get their heads around all of that as well. But the vision and the way that people want to construct things, they need help with the leverage. It's almost like, you know, football, table football. We're all doing that. We're all kind of moving around and doing that. We're all kicking up the ball about. And if we're doing it well, we should all be kind of going backwards and forwards and nobody's scoring any goals because we're all doing this with each other. I think it's a bit like that, you know. We've got these incredible entrepreneurs and these incredible thinkers and people that get up and go, I want to make a difference. And as support agencies and funders and people that have the gift of being able to invest in that, we should be around that. We should be deeply knowledgeable about it, and we should be around it and helping it be manoeuvred in the right way possible. Because you get to the point, if there's things you can teach, we can all teach people how to do a VAT return. We can all teach people how to write a business plan. That, what ifs? But, you know, there's a link, go and do it. But how do you help people be deeply strategic? How do you help people put it together so you go, I know that 10 grand I'm going to give you, you will turn into 100, but I know there's a risk there. And I know you're not going to achieve those 3 outcomes, but you might achieve those 5. But you know what? There'll be 10 that we don't know about yet. Let's go on this journey together. So I hope that there's more collaboration. I hope there's more partnership. I hope there's more family approaches to all of this. And by family, I mean people having deep respect and deep admiration for people in this space, that you build up trust and you build up a way of working that allows for mistakes. You know, funders should help us get where we want to and pick us up when we fall down. I think we're past the point now where there's a mistrust. So as an example, I was speaking to somebody about home working, and they were saying, like, before they would never ever have endorsed home working. Absolutely not. All this, there's a huge complex problem, but there's good stats that come out. All the stats that are coming out are saying that people are actually 25 to 40% more productive at home working in the current environment. And that's under all of this pressure. And that is under huge amounts of strain to get things right. And that's under uncertainty whether you have jobs or not. You're like, what does that tell us? It tells us if you relax the rules, people surprise you. There is nobody I know and being involved with at all that doesn't want to be transparent about public funds. So we need to think about that differently. We need to think about criteria entirely differently. I would rather, you know, get audited every 3 months and people come in and be all over the organisation and look at it through a different lens than have to match criteria that a different funder has a different criteria for and a different criteria. And you're like, mate, I'm exhausted. I don't know, what am I doing again? Oh, that over there. Bloody hell.
Just have a conversation with each other.
Have a conversation. Have a conversation that you trust people with. Call people out. You know, if we were to read all of the evaluations that sit in the corridors of the funders currently, we've done it. And we did it in 12 weeks. And we did it on 6 grand.
Of course, we all do. And so you're the convener of Scotland Can Do, and it's obviously, that's a wide range of organisations that you support. Is Scotland the best place to be an entrepreneur at the moment? And just kind of what kind of range of enterprising ideas do you see from that role?
Well, I do think I'm quite unashamedly Team Scotland in this kind of space. So I do think Scotland's a brilliant place to create, grow and scale a creative business or an enterprise. And the reason I think that is that we're big enough and small enough. We're big enough to have weight and influence, and we're small enough that you can get to the right people really quickly in Scotland. And also we have a wonderful thing in the fact that we have political and structural will to make us entrepreneurial. And that only, it's different now, obviously we live in different times now, but I only ever get reminded of that. I'm fortunate, I spend a lot of time out of the country, so I get reminded of that quite a lot when I'm out of the country, that our government does support our enterprise community really well. Yes, we can all do better, there's no doubt about that, but we all play in slightly different fields and we're trying to come together. It's a bit like one of us is playing rugby, one of us is playing football, one of us is playing hockey, but we're all in a grass pitch and we're trying to make it work together. Do you know, the intent is there, right? We're trying really hard and it is difficult. we have the Can Do Collective is a group of probably in excess of about 60 organisations that are focused on supporting enterprise and entrepreneurship, innovation and creativity. And there are organisations that are dealing with supporting the entrepreneurial community. The thing that's really exciting about everybody coming together is that we're starting to see threads of work that are not about duplication and not about feathering your own nest. We're starting to see people come together and say, actually, you really want to collaborate on that. So I'm mad about young people. If I go do anything else after all this stuff I'm doing, I'll definitely be going back to work with young people and do something about creativity with young people. I think that young people in our country and other countries are just, they're magic. They just get it. They're awesome. So I'm a big, huge supporter of that. And I do loads of collaborations with Young Enterprise Scotland, for example. Now, in the creative space, we could be doing that ourselves, but why would we bother? What's the point? These guys are experts at it. I get told exactly what we need to contribute to. We know exactly the way that we need to work, and we go in and do that with the young people. And I think that kind of push and pull is something that is really great. And the Can Do Collective is trying to foster that. There is no doubt it's like herding cats, right? There is no doubt about it. We all agree and disagree in equal breath, in equal measure. So it's not an easy task, but I do believe that we can get to the point where Scotland is recognised as being a brilliant place for entrepreneurship, innovation and creativity. We have a very high startup rate of businesses. What we need to do, though, I think, and this is where my passion around all the work that we do together is, we need to have much more encouragement and faith in the new ideas that are coming through, so the mixed models that are coming through, so the businesses that are able to have social impact, what I call the ripple effect. They can have social impact, they can have creative impact, they can have economic impact, environmental impact and cultural impact. And actually, if you get organisations that do all of that in the full space, they're hugely impactful. The thing is, they tend to be small, so they would be classed as small or micro businesses, but you've got micro businesses with macro impact. We're great at that in Scotland, but we're not great at recognising it. And we do this really annoying thing where we're too scared to fail. So we have this kind of benchmark where we don't want to wear our badge of failure, because if we fail, we'll never work again. It's all very dramatic. But equally, we don't want to be too successful, because then people will be like, why are you back in your box? I remember you, Phyllis, when you're like, ah, mate. So we've got like this fear factor of being too successful because we'll get put down. We can't fail because we'll get put down. So you've got this massive clump of talent in the middle, operating in the mediocre middle. And you're like, hold on a minute, let's just break through, actually. Let's just try something different. And I think I hope that we're at a tipping point with that. And we speak about that a lot in the collective. And I want to see us more and more praising people for doing awesome stuff, and people not being embarrassed about it or shy about it. A few years ago, I was in America for a long period of time, and every time somebody said, what do you do? I'd go, oh, I do that. And they'd go, that's awesome. And even me, I would be like, aye, all right. Like, okay. Like, the Americans, man, getting really excited. And actually, after about 6 weeks, to be a long time, after 6 weeks, I was like, do you know what we do back in Scotland, it is awesome. You're absolutely right. And I just think we need that. We need, especially now, we need a bit more awesome. There are some incredible solutions coming out in businesses that are doing wonderful things with people. And we should just be going a bit more awesome, where it's due. Sometimes we do it to people that, come on, good story, mate. I want to see the action and the outcomes. But I think we should genuinely do it when it's more, because it makes people feel good, makes people feel great.
And for yourself, you're someone that isn't comfortable with mediocre, and you've kind of actively looked at your own CPD and your own training and your own development. So you've been at Babson College, you've been at Rachael Business Schools, done some MBAs, but you've also, you said about your love of working with young people. You've worked in prisons, you've worked in large theatres, you've worked in double-decker buses. There's been lots of different venues and lots of different experiences that you've had. What, in terms of your own personal development, advice you'd give to anyone else, do you think that lived experience or the job experience is as important as putting yourself through professional training, or is it all a journey, do you think?
That's a good question again. I mean, I think it is all a journey. So I have classic behaviour, I suppose. So, you know, like entrepreneurs tend to fall into two camps often. There'll be the ones that got kicked out of school and the ones that were top of their class at school. I kind of come into the first one. I was like kicked out of the school.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't really ever describe myself as an entrepreneur, of course, but I'm one of those people that I'm deeply curious. I'm always asking why is that? Why is that? Why is that? And I like to be good at things. And I think for CPD helps you just take that step back and really challenge yourself and question yourself. I think, you know, when you're driven to make a difference, and I genuinely do get up every day wanting to contribute. I want to contribute, and I want to be able to be proud of the contribution I make. But in order to do that, I've got to be really reflective about my own self and be very self-aware, and you need to know what you're good at and what you're not good at. So I kind of mix it up, because a lot of the because I wasn't successful at school, that always hung over me, and I wasn't somebody that went straight to university after school. I worked a bit, I did all kinds of things. That's for a whole other sesh. All the nonsense I got up to when I was working in the music biz. But I went to university later, and so it was really important to me to be able to prove myself in that way, that when you're told for many years that you're not academic, that you can actually be academic. And I believe everybody can. You know, there's the opportunity for everybody to learn. You just have to understand how you learn. And I'm dyslexic, so I learn not in a traditional way, and it took me a long time to understand that. So the CPD stuff that I like to do around university and have, you know, MBA and stuff, that's the stuff I like to do for me, just so that I know that I can. The other stuff, when you're in an environment that you've never been in before, such as, you know, teaching opera in a prison. Why would anybody be in that environment?
As you do.
As you do, right? I do those things because you just never know what it's going to tell you. You know, you just never know the experience you're going to get. You've got to be open. And it's like extreme people watching. You're always listening and being fascinated by people. And some of the best life lessons I've ever had have been in the most unusual situations. And I think when you're open to learning all of the time, it just gives you so much back, and you become much better at what you do, because you're not thinking about yourself all the time. You're reflecting in of, why did that person make that choice? Why are we doing it like this? Why did that person say this? And it's a very difficult one, because you don't want to cripple yourself with any extreme self-awareness of like, oh my gosh, I really messed that up. I mean, I mess everything up. I'm pretty comfortable with that. I'm the first one to laugh at myself. I fall off a pavement and I'm ending myself laughing, because you're thinking, what is the point of not, you know? And the kind of crazy situations you find yourself in, you just got to pick it up with good humour. So I'm the first one to laugh at myself, and I think that you get through that when you're less self-conscious, but you are very self-aware. So it's important for me to keep learning, and I would encourage everybody to keep learning. There is no rush. You know, there's absolutely no rush. You don't have to get it all done in one day. The to-do list will still be there tomorrow. Take some time. What will you think about? As you know, like on a Wednesday, I don't work on a Wednesday afternoon. I still work, but I don't do emails and reports or anything on a Wednesday. I just take time to think and learn and do stuff. I mean, I'm not one of these people that are in the current situation and I'm going to come out having learned French and being able to crochet. I'm not into learning new skills.
No.
I'm not into that, but I am into learning about behaviour and people and observing connections. I love observing those connections, and the more you put yourself into that environment where people share their stories with you. I'm privileged. I see hundreds and hundreds of businesses a year, and I listen to everybody's stories, and it's incredible, because you spot patterns, and then you can take that pattern into data, and then when you've got this sort of CPD academic bit under your belt, you can transfer that data into meaning, and it just becomes really useful, and you can become more useful. The more I know, the more useful I am to people.
Rachel, that has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much. Really enjoyed it. I feel like we could probably do 2 weeks of these, possibly. But But thank you very much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure, and
You're very
I will
welcome.
catch up with you soon.
On just one final thing,
Sure.
Kieran, you
Yeah.
do know that it's Sauvignon Blanc Day today. So I do
Savvy B.
expect Savvy B. So I do expect anybody who is out there listening to us, the sun is shining.
Uh-huh.
Obviously, please drink responsibly. But if you want to celebrate and have a glass of Savvy B, I will be doing that later on this evening, so we can toast together virtually.
Perfect. Perfect. I think that sounds delightful. Delightful. Lovely. Excellent. Happy Savvy B Day, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks, Kieran.
Bye.
See you soon. Bye. Bye.